Hello, my name is Michelle, and you're listening to Profit is a Choice. On our podcast today is Lauren Davenport Imber of Davenport Designs Limited, based in Atlanta, Georgia. Lauren works with clients to transform high-end residential and commercial spaces into livable, chic environments. She is known for her timeless style and attention to detail. Lauren prides her company on delivering a seamless customer experience to her clients from start to finish and completing the projects on time and within budget. Currently, Lauren is the lead designer for the 2018 Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles Home for the Holidays Designer Showhouse. And on the episode today, we're first going to talk about first steps in business and, where our focus is when we first start. And then as our business grows and we have support, how we actually can have time to maybe work on a show house. Lauren is going to share with us how working on a show house can be profitable or horribly detrimental to your business. So if you are considering participating in a show house in the future, this is the podcast for you. Every day, empowered entrepreneurs are taking ownership of their company financial health and enjoying the rewards of reduced stress and more creativity. With my background as a financial software developer, owner of multiple businesses in the interior design industry, educator, and speaker, I coach women in the interior design industry to increase their profits, regain ownership of their bottom line, and to have fun again in their business. Welcome to Profit is a Choice. Hey, Lauren, thanks so much for joining us today on Profit is a Choice.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for having me. I'm so excited for us to talk a little bit about show houses and profitability.
Excellent. Before we jump in and talk about that, I know that's definitely the focus of our time together today. I'd love for you to start off and just let the listeners know what you do, what kind of business in the interior design industry that you have.
Okay, absolutely. Well, my name's Lauren Davenport Imber. My business is Davenport Designs Limited. I am 90% residential, higher end interior design, but I do definitely have some commercial clients sprinkled in there. And I started my business in 2003, and it's based in Atlanta, but I do have clients all over the Southeast.
Lauren, when you started your business back in 2003, you said, did you start with profitability in mind? Did you come out having clear, I hear you laughing already. Did you have clear profit goals? It's even hard for me to ask it when you're laughing in front of me.
No. When I went out on my own, the goal was clients. Let's get clients. Let's get business. Let's get clients in the door. And I think that's how most people that start their own interior design firm, that is their main goal and their main focus is the work and clients coming in, and the profitability, honestly, is an afterthought. And it is so important that we, as a design industry and people going out on their own, change that and start in the beginning thinking, all right, profitability. Just because you have, 3 or 4 clients when you first start off doesn't always mean that you're going to be profitable if you don't plan for it and take the necessary steps at the beginning.
I think you're absolutely right. We come out and we think, I need clients. Fair. You do need clients. There is no way we're going to be profitable if we don't have clients. So I can see that as a great starting point. And even with me, when I started my coaching business, the goal was, I need to have income, and income comes from clients. So very natural, very normal way of thinking. But we also, to your point, have to be thinking, so when they come in, now how do I manage those clients? And then how do I become profitable? Because when we tie those together as that, kind of me pulling out of what you said, and also because I know you, making money isn't enough if we have the wrong clients.
Absolutely.
So we want the right, not just clients, not just, as I say, warm bodies with a checkbook. We want the right clients.
That's so true. Exactly.
Right? Wanting us to do the right work that we can truly serve, and then at a price that works for both of us, a fair exchange of our time and talent and knowledge for, the outcome that we deliver. And so if we don't think about profitability when we're thinking about getting clients, I don't know, maybe you experience this, but many people start off and they literally take warm bodies with a checkbook.
Oh, absolutely.
And these people are paying pennies on the dollar for what should happen. And we don't maybe have the experience or the confidence to go after the clients that we really need. And we get in this downward spiral where we are working and we are serving. we're just not working with clients who either understand the value and worth or who can afford it.
Well, exactly. And I think a lot of that too, unfortunately, when you're starting your own business, I'm speaking specifically from starting your own design firm from the beginning, is you don't really know. Well, first of all, you just need those clients. So you get that client. You certainly aren't going to hang up and tell a client, no, I'm sorry. I'm not taking on new clients at this time when you need clients. But so many times you get in with a client and you start working with them and you meet with them and everything goes downhill. And I think, unfortunately, you have to have one or two of those at the beginning to make yourself stop, take a step back and reflect and go, okay, this isn't working. How am I going to change this? And how am I going to nip this in the bud now so that going forward for my next client or two clients, I am staying profitable. I know kind of what to expect and what can go wrong because they've gone wrong on those previous jobs, to this is what needs to happen and this is what needs to go right. And unfortunately, a lot of times I think that's just trial and error. I mean,
I agree.
I've had some great clients and I've had wonderful clients, and then I've had clients that were great and we kind of got a little off kilter, and I had to kind of rein them back in and say, okay, let's refer to our contract that we signed. What is it that now 6 months into this project is making you feel this way? So a lot of it is just experience as well. But the important thing is knowing when the project's starting to kind of go off the rails so that you can rein it back in and get it going in the direction that it needs to be going in.
Right, for both of you, and to do that as quickly as possible. And I agree with you. I don't know that we always knew. I think we have an idea. I'll say this. In my experience and the experience of working with other interior designers and workrooms or anybody, we have an idea when we first start and go out on our own of what that ideal client might be. But then sometimes we get that ideal client where we go, well, that really wasn't ideal for me.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
That's not really my ideal. So then we fine tune it. Like you said, the trial and error, we fine tune it. Well,
but that, to me, that's the best part of this whole thing. When it's your design business and it's the clients that you've on board, if things aren't working or going so that it works in both the client and the designer's favor, that you can stop and you can say, this is not working anymore. And you can cut your losses before it continues down, just a whirlwind of losing money right and left, and the client's not happy. And no matter what you do, that client is never going to be happy. Right. So I want everybody to remember that you have that option of cutting your losses and explaining to the client, here's what's not going right. And finish up what you had agreed to at that point and then move on. Because a lot of times it's in the client's best interest and your best interest as well. And I think a lot of times people forget that. They think, oh my gosh, I'm on this project. I really want to see it through to the end because I want to have it photographed. It's just going to cost you more money than if you were to cut your losses and say, thank you so much, but this isn't working anymore.
And I think also a difficult thing at the beginning that I was thinking when you were saying that is that when we start off and we have what I'm going to put in air quotes, ideal client, and something goes off the rails, it's easy for us to think it is a client issue. Well, that client, maybe they weren't my ideal. When it may be we didn't have an ideal process to work with that client, or our contract wasn't supporting us in working. So it may be there was nothing wrong with the client, but that the contract or the process that we've employed is not helping us get, the end result that we both want. And so it does take fine tuning and really stepping back, removing yourself from the emotion of it and asking, is this a contract letter of agreement issue? Is it an expectation issue? Or is this truly a character issue of this person? That's not my ideal. And then to your point, the faster we recognize it, stepping in, addressing it, trying to redirect it, reset the expectations, or cutting your losses. Because chances are when you're done, I don't care how beautiful that space is, you're not going to want to photograph it. You're going to be too angry and too wasted. And, when we talk about profitability, and Lauren, this, we've had these conversations a lot, it's about more than just money. And so absolutely. When you feel like you lost a piece of your heart and your soul because you were just abused in a client situation, I don't care how pretty it is. You don't want to have that photographed for that remembrance to be in every magazine.
Well,
So
exactly.
you're going to step away.
Yeah. And a lot of times if you have the project, you finish it and it's completed, the client won't want you back in their home photographing
Get
it, because
out.
photography is typically a whole day affair and you're coming in and moving and touching all their things. And it just, it's not going to work.
That's right. So don't hold out for the photography when the client hates you and you already feel like you want to be nauseous every time you walk in. It's probably time to move on.
Absolutely.
I always have told my clients when we're talking, I'm like, you'll know when somebody's not your ideal. When you look at the phone and their name comes up on caller ID and you feel physically sick, ill, that is a good indication that there's a problem. Yep. When the email comes up and you see it and you don't have, the window pane where you can like review the message, and you put it off to the last email that you open and you take a deep breath before you do it, that is an indicator that something's off the rails.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
And we've all had them.
We've all had them.
Yeah. Every single person has had them. But for some reason, you just continue to work with them instead of, trying to redirect. And yeah, we've all had them. We've all been there. So we all know exactly what you're talking about. And I have them. I've had them too. So I know.
So that definitely affects your profitability. What other things would you say affected your either lack of profitability or not looking at the numbers early on? So yeah. All right. So we get that you needed to just get clients and get them in the door. Let's talk a little bit about maybe processes, procedures, systems, that kind of thing.
Over the years, you start out, the good thing about processes and procedures is it's something that you're constantly changing and tweaking. I mean, I've been doing this since 2003 and I still learn something from every single job. And then it's just, a 5-minute easy fix to go into your contract and, make a note about, my business hours are, 9 to 6, Monday through Friday. And if you send me an email or a text or a phone call after those hours, I will return it, the following business days, because there are so many clients. Luckily, I have not had one. I have heard horror stories that clients text and call at 3 a.m. in the morning and want an immediate response. So I think that obviously would not be your ideal client and would have to be, immediately nipped in the bud. But processes are so important, not only for yourself and any staff that you may have, but also for the client, so they know what to expect. An example of one thing that I started implementing several years ago was every Monday we go through every single outstanding order that is out there, whether it's at the workroom or the manufacturer or what have you, and we check the status. Did you receive the fabric? What's the day that you think that you'll complete this? Then we send a spreadsheet to our client, even if nothing has changed from the previous week. So they have a status update of where all of their goods are, what's happening, what the anticipated install date is, because that one thing right there saves you so much time from clients calling or emailing, asking about certain things. You've sent them an entire list of everything that's on order and they can refer to it.
Lauren, that's a beautiful process. I like to call that a preemptive strike. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you before you ask me. Mm-hmm. And now, I number one, like you said, I've reduced confusion. I've reduced the emails and the text, and what about this and what about that? And it gives them the feeling that they can, don't they hire us as professionals so they can let go? It reminds them, you can let go. I've got this. I'm handling this. And then that really builds that know, like, trust. And when they know you, like, you, trust you, they're going to become more of your ideal client, especially on the trust side. That trust part is huge.
Oh, absolutely. If there is, and you have to remember, you're coming into people's homes and you're designing their intimate spaces where they spend their downtime with their families. So if there is not a level of trust between the designer and the client, you might as well just walk off the job at that point, because you have to have that trust for things to work and run smoothly, and for them to trust you to back off and kind of let go of the reins and let you do your job. So there's not a lot of micromanaging.
It's so funny. I having been in this industry since 2000, you're always in people's homes. And I won't say we take it for granted, but I think sometimes it's just kind of, we're just there to do a job, right? We're there to work with them, love on them, whatever. But we're there to do a job. So we come in with a very professional attitude. But I was reminded how it felt to be on the client side when I invited a business professional in to help me, a stylist to help me go through my wardrobe. And she literally went in my closet and all my drawers. Talk about, let's walk into your intimate space. Like I could invite you into my kitchen and my den. Now there may be 3 little dogs and a coffee mug sitting around, and that might embarrass me a little bit, but you let somebody walk into your closet and pick up every item that you own and then give you a judgment call. And if it's in style, out of style, get rid of it. And you're pulling, I was like, oh my gosh, this is how my clients feel. I mean, it was just like a stark reminder of the trust that you need to have to invite somebody in to your bedroom, to your closet, to your bathroom, just to your family room, because they are literally putting in their ideas into how you live your life.
Well, absolutely. And I think it's funny too when I have clients that say, "Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't clean up for you before you came over." And I said, "You know what? You don't have to, because I know what I'm looking at and I can see the whole space. So the fact that you may have, like you said, the coffee mug or the dogs or 3 pairs of shoes on the floor and a kitchen sink full of dirty dishes, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at your overall space."
Right. But those things also tell you how they live their life. And that's just as important for you. Okay, so I see you leave your coffee mug in every room of the house. That means we need to be able to handle, a coffee mug everywhere. I see your dogs have free reign of the house. Well, we need to think about that. So in some ways, it actually gives you more information. So, okay, so when you have moved towards profitability in your company, and I know that, like you said, for all of us, it's a journey. Every bit of this is a journey. Mm-hmm. So processes and procedures has played a large role, really being clear on what you want to do and the clients that you want to work with. What would you say about hiring and working with either subcontractors or, kind of the group of people that you would surround yourself with? Have you found that to lead you either towards or away from profitability?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely.
Both, probably.
Well, yeah. Let's talk about the subs, first of all. So us being interior designers, we are one person. And unfortunately, we lean so heavily on subs to get things done. Fabric workrooms, if we're going to have custom textiles done, window treatment workrooms, painters, wallpaper hangers. And that is so important because those subs that you're working with represent you and your company when they go out to a client's home. I had an incident where I had a sub that I was working with, and for me, it's very important to set a time frame. They will be there between 9 and 10, a.m. on a certain day. Well, if I get a phone call from the client at 10:30 that they haven't shown up, well, then that makes me look bad. And we would always set a time, and he was habitually 2 to 3 hours late. And I finally said, after the first time, I understand Atlanta and traffic. I mean, you have to budget for it and your delivery times and things. First time, okay, I understand. Let's not let it happen again. But the second time that happens, as much as I like your work and as, was great of a working relationship we have, I can't work that way because it causes more angst for me, my clients, my staff, and my time, which is, when you're billing by the hour is incredibly important.
And when we talk profitability, that counts in because now you have time that you really can't go bill that client for, like you're saying. So it's really costing you.
It's costing you money.
Sure. Sure.
So that's one. So that's part of it. So make sure when you hire the subs, not only are they great at their craft and what they do, but they also respect the fact that they are working for you and they are, the designer's clients, and that they are representing the designer when they go out to different jobs. That's certainly one very important thing. The second thing is if you're hiring staff, plan for it before you hire somebody. If you just go out and hire somebody and bring them on board and you aren't organized and you don't have things organized, you're paying, a staff member to sit there and not be profitable or do anything while you're trying to figure out what it is you want them to do. Of course, there's always a learning curve whenever you bring anyone in, but if you have your processes and your procedures and what you want your staff member to be working on and what their role is in the business, it will make you that much more profitable because you can instantly start billing for their time and they're helping get things off of your plate, which in turn you can bill additionally for and plan for larger things.
Yeah, I see a lot. And I understand, we get overwhelmed or so many jobs come in all at once. And I've been there myself. I need somebody now. And it's really just because I'm stressed out in that moment. It's not to say I don't need somebody. I do. But if I haven't created that process and that plan, Lauren, and then I go try to bring them in, I did it once. Hot mess. Because they're sitting there looking at me, waiting on me to feed them work. I am so busy over here doing critical mass kind of things. I cannot get them work, but I know there's work to be done. Then I try to hand it to them, but maybe I didn't have time to explain exactly what I wanted with, clear outcomes and expectations. Then they go and try to do it for me. It doesn't look like what I want or what I expected. Now I'm frustrated. I'm paying them to redo it 3 times because I didn't tell them what to do. And then I think I've made a bad hire when really I was just a bad boss. I was a bad manager. It's kind of that ideal client or letter of agreement. This one that's half the time, it can be the owner of the company that has the issue, not the person that you're hiring. And I now have multiple subcontractors that I've hired through my firm. And I am very clear. Here's what I want. Here's what I need you to do. And here's the date I need you to do it. Are you able to get this done? And I need it to, and I usually say, and I need it to look like this, or you have free reign, but here's my style sheet. I give them some, as I call it, parentheses. Yeah, boundaries, parentheses around the statement. Here's what I can do. What's this going to cost? How we're going to pay. But if I can't do that, I literally just make myself go through the process of going, I'm just going to have to suffer this pain because bringing somebody in and not being prepared, I am irritated and frustrated. So not only am I paying them to sit and do nothing, I'm losing money because I'm irritated. Well, I can lose money and be irritated by myself without having to pay somebody else. Right?
Well, exactly. It's very true.
Why would I pay double to be irritated?
Yeah.
And
there is training, anytime you onboard somebody new that goes around, but if you haven't trained yourself on what you want to train your employee with, then it's just a waste of time for everybody.
That's right. And most employees, well, I won't say most, because I have seen with some of my clients, some crazy people coming through trying to get jobs. I would say when you hire correctly, okay, most people really want to be part of a team. They want to be part of the company they're working with. They want to be seen as integral to the success. And if they don't know where they fit in or how they fit in, because we have not created space and shown them that, they're going to feel disconnected. And when they feel disconnected, the work is going to suffer, which means our profitability suffers, when a lot of that could have been, kind of guarded against at the beginning by really having our act together.
Well, exactly. And you also, when you're hiring someone, you need to have an idea of what it is you want in that hire. Years of experience, what you want their focus to be in. If you hire someone that has an accounting degree and that's all they know are spreadsheets and what have you, they're probably not going to know how to do AutoCAD. So you really have to have your list of requirements that you want to see in a candidate before you onboard them to make sure it is a good fit for not only the new hire, but also for your business.
Right. So I know that you've made it a couple of really great hires. You've been very
lucky,
very blessed. Yes, absolutely. So by having the right support team in place for you, both as you have some that are subcontractors and you have some that are company employees. So you have both. Having that team in place, Lauren, how has that opened up your ability to take on other projects that maybe you wouldn't have been able to do before that? When you're a one-person show trying to do it all, there's a limit. There's a limit.
Absolutely.
Right? But when you have an accountant and a bookkeeper and a staff member and a business coach and, the subs that you enjoy working with that support you. When you've got this team of excellent, I know you have lawyers, when you got all this excellent team of support around you, both for the business, working on your business, and then working on your clients' homes, how does that free you up to then do the next thing? What does it open up for you?
And it takes a lot of the minutia and the everyday in and out small details off of your plate so that you can look and forecast for your business. What direction do I want my business to go in the next 2 to 3 years? And it really kind of gives you, not free time is not the right term, but it gives you the ability to free up your time to plan and work on some of the initiatives that you want to, employ or start working on so that you can meet your growth goals, whether it's, 6 months or a year down the road. I think that is so important that a lot of people, as Michelle, I think you've said it best, is working on your business and not always working in the business.
That's right.
As a business owner, of course, when you start, you're doing both. I mean, you're every person. You're working on the business, you're working for the business, sometimes you're working against the business. But when you employ these people that can help make your life easier, it really allows for you to have growth and to kind of take a step back for a minute and look at, okay, is the business going in the direction that I want? What do I need help in? I mean, I think that is so important, that there's so many people that need help in business and they don't ask for it, or they don't know how to go about asking for it. And everybody needs help at some point. I mean, certainly let everyone know that I'm coached with Michelle, and I looked for years for a business coach that works specifically in the design field, because I was moving back from being out of town, we moved to Seattle from Atlanta for 3 years for my husband's job. And then we moved back to Atlanta. And I kind of took that as a time to rebrand and kind of take a step back and see where I wanted the business to go. Because again, I had moved back and was ready to take on more clients than I had when I was in Seattle, and I was taking on the wrong clients. So by saying, I need help, I need a business coach, this is what I want. And I had interviewed so many people that said they were business coaches. And the first words out of their mouth always were, tell me a little bit about your business. Tell me a little bit about your field. And I said, thank you so much for your time, but this is not what I'm looking for. So again, I could have explained my field, my business, what it was I was looking for, but I don't think they were a right fit because they weren't working with small businesses that were in the design field. The design field is complicated. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that don't take it professionally. There are a lot of people that are like the hobby housewife. Oh yeah, I'm a designer, I can do this on the side. They weren't formally trained. They don't have the experience that other designers have. And I think that's so important that as a field as a whole, that we all get on the same page. It helps everybody's profitability and time, so that, and it happens all the time. Oh, I'm going to go with this person because she's, $30 an hour cheaper than you are. That's fine. In the past, I may have said, oh, well, that's okay. I will, let me just honor her price so that, I can get this job. Well, that right there is the biggest red flag, that they don't respect your time and they don't respect what you're worth.
So true. And, I have my own business coach. It took me 2 years to find one that I wanted to work with, because we all have an idea of what we need if we're really looking at it. That's why I loved eMyth so much. The working, on the business is kind of the entrepreneur, and then, the managerial position, but the managerial is also working in it a little bit. And then as you move further down to technician, you're fully engaged. You are in that business. And I am a firm believer that if we don't create space, like you said, with our time to focus on the business, where it's going, the longevity, the vision, the forward thinking, we're always just that hamster on the wheel. Mm-hmm. And that business is then not working for us. It is draining us. And I love what you said. We're working against it. Mm-hmm. And that's just not what we want to do.
No.
So getting these right people around us. And I just want to say this. In my experience, every single time I have said, with the true heart, I need help, somebody has stepped in and helped me.
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean that you might get a few no's along the way? Sure. But by and large, every single time I've put out a call for help, whether they actually had what I needed or not, the heart of help has always shown up. And so I do think that about this industry, there are nobody wants to have their brain picked to death, but there is, a lot of opportunities to learn and to share and to get the help. So most people are extremely supportive.
And one thing that I do want to say is when you employ I like to call them, as you do, a team of people, because we're all working together for the same goal.
Right.
Is listen to what they have to say. It may not always be what you want to hear, but you have reached out to these people because you realized that there was a need for something that you were lacking or needed help with. And they know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. Your bookkeeper, listen to your bookkeeper. Do what she tells you to do. And don't fight and work against her, because the only person that you're hurting is yourself. Listen to what they have to say. Like, you may not like it, but they're out there to help you. And if you listen to them and work with them, the profitability that you're going to get from that is just, it's so important. And it's so much larger than you could ever imagine.
I think that's a good point, Lauren. The reason that we're asking for help is because somebody knows something we don't know. And I even had within the last couple of weeks, one of my team members responded to me about something that I'd asked about, and actually got another one today from another team member who was like, you need to change this, or this doesn't sound right here. And I didn't take it as they were slamming on Michelle. I had said to them, this is the goal. We're not quite making the mark that I want to make at the percentages I want to make. Tell me how to tweak this. What do you see? And so when they wrote back, I could have either looked at it and been like, I can't believe they said that to me. And I just thought, but that's what people hire me for every day, is to tell them, quit commingling your funds, quit doing this, stop doing that. Yes, you're doing that correctly. No, don't do that. I mean, they're hiring me all day, every day to give them tough information. Yeah. So I have to be able to accept that tough information from my team. And that's why building a team of people that you trust and that support you and that are moving in the same direction you is critical. Because if you cannot trust the information that they're giving to you, or that they understand your industry and where you're going and what you're doing, you're not going to listen to them. And then you're paying money for somebody to give you advice that you're not listening to. And that's just craziness.
Absolutely.
So let's change our direction just a little bit. And one of the things that having staff and having a team in place has opened up for you is show homes, doing show houses. Now, I know that can create an entire, probably 3-day event where we just talk about show houses, right? The good, the bad, the ugly. Right. It could be its own reality TV show. But what I want to focus on a little bit today is they have been profitable for you. Okay. Now, you may have had some that in the past that were a little unprofitable, but I know the two that you've worked on recently have been a good investment for you. And so the one that you're working on right now, you're the lead designer for the 2018 Home for the Holidays house here in Atlanta, which is presented by Atlanta Homes and Lifestyle Magazine. And this show home is opening November 15th through December the 9th of 2018.
That is correct.
Okay. Now, you also were in this same show house last year in 2017, the holiday home. Okay. It was, you had the laundry room and it was fabulous. Like, who walks out of a holiday house and says, oh, the laundry room. The laundry room. But a lot of people walked out and were like, oh, the laundry room.
They did, which of course I love to hear. But you're right. It is funny that people are like, the laundry room was my favorite room. So of course that makes me, so proud of my work and excited that people really liked it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And they have been profitable for me, and in two different ways. The profitability is, of course, you think profit, you think money. But I've started looking at it as profitable in marketing, exposure, having content for my social media, website, and things like that.
And collaborations too, right?
Absolutely. And lots of collaborations. So they have been very profitable for me. If you want to, I've always gone into show houses thinking, I'm not going to get any clients out of this, because oftentimes you don't. I was very fortunate in having done the Home for the Holidays home last year in 2017 that I did get a client out of it. And it's a new build, and it's a client that has a lot of longevity. But I never entered into these show houses thinking everybody's going to see my work. They're going to love it. The phone's going to start ringing off the hook, because that's really not the case.
Let's stop right there and talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
So if I'm understanding correctly, you went into these show houses knowing, now if it came up and somebody asked to be your client, certainly you wouldn't say no if they were an ideal fit. But you went into it with an understanding that this is a long-term nurture sequence, not a short-term, they're going to walk in and, throw thousands of dollars at me before I can get out the door. And so that by setting that expectation, you're looking at show houses in the long run, not just in a short time span, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
It is. And, there's a lot of time and there is a lot of money that go into these show houses that you have to plan for. But if you plan accordingly, the profitability is huge. Not only do you get your name out to, your market that you're in this case for me, it's Atlanta and the surrounding areas, you establish relationships with the magazine or the vendor that's putting on these show houses, because they invest a lot of time and energy into it as well. And they oftentimes, handpick the designers. So while it is a huge honor to be asked to do one of these show houses, you really have to make sure that the show house is a right fit for you and for your company, and that you plan accordingly, because a show house can make a business, or it can quickly drain all of your funds.
So let's talk about the draining of the funds, because I have had, so while you have been profitable with it, and granted, you also, let me back up. You also don't take every show house that comes your way. No. You are, back to what your comment was about being very careful. You are selective in the show houses that you do. You're not doing 5 or 6 a year.
No, it's typically 1 a year, and, maybe every other year. I just happen to have done 2 back to back. Not saying that I'm not open to another show house next year, but it would have to depend on the room and the house itself.
Okay.
Now, a lot of times when people think if they're going into a show house, they want to do the living room. If I'm going to do a show house, I'm going to go big, and I'm going to do the biggest space in the home. And that's not the way to go about it. For your first show home, pick the smallest space that's there. Oftentimes they're powder rooms or laundry rooms or, a secondary area, because they are a large financial commitment. But still participating in these show houses in the smaller spaces and making those smaller spaces fabulous, you're involved. You're still getting the notoriety that goes along with the show house, and being involved and meeting the contacts and getting your name out there, if you were to do the small bathroom or laundry room versus the whole living room.
So you make, when we talk about, you are profitable, because it's not just about the money that you're making in the moment. So you are meeting clients, and you and I both have talked about when we were looking at, because we created a spreadsheet for every show house, and we're keeping up with how much time you're spending with that show house, as well as how much money is invested, because both of those are currencies that we are managing, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we also know that on the profitability side, before we look at what can shut down the business, the non-profitability, the drainers, but on the profitability, on the upswing, it's the collaborations, it's meeting the builders, it's getting your name out there, it's marketing, it's having the pictures taken that you can use of a beautiful space, it's being connected with other designers that are at the same level that you hope to be. But we also talked about, Lauren, and I don't want to miss this when we're talking on the profitability side. One of the big ways that yours has been profitable for you is because during the open days, like, on this one, the 15th of November to the 9th of December, you schedule a huge amount of time to be in that home, to stand in your space and to meet and greet. And that shifted it. If you just did a space and then you weren't really there, or you had a docent or just had like somebody standing there meeting people, that's a very different experience than walking in and talking to the person who designed it, because they always want to talk to you about their space. They always want to mention it.
They do. And I love to talk to people about the space.
Yeah. So tell us about what are some of the things, some of the marketing collateral and the speaking that you do in that space that allows you to be profitable and to build relationships that show up later.
I try and stand in the space as much as you can, because like you said, it is, if you just design the room and let it be, there's no real interaction between the audience that's coming to see your space and the space that you've designed for your audience. And I am there pretty much every day. Most definitely on the weekends, whether it's in the morning or the afternoon. And it's just to talk to people and to get their feedback, because I find feedback, whether it's positive or negative, is so important. Whether you agree with their point of view or whether they got your point of view in the room, just to hear the feedback and engage people and educate people a little bit about, why did you pick this fabric? Why did you go with this scheme? Why did you select the space that you selected? And people love to talk to the designers and to hear what they have to say. And they like to know, oh my gosh, this fabric on the sofa is beautiful. Well, yes, there is a notebook in each space that tells you, for you to be able to tell them, oh, well, this sofa is from, X vendor with a Y vendor fabric on it. Did you know that this fabric was made from, a recycled material or something? And give them some feedback and tidbits and information. They love it.
Well, what it does is it makes you relational. And I told you this when we were talking about this particular show. Sometimes show houses can be intimidating to an average homeowner. Because they're over the top. And in some cases, it's almost like no expense was spared. So there is a lot of money in these homes. I would say outside the average home.
Yes.
Right? Right.
Very much so.
And you're in those spaces. Some of the designers are trying to push the boundaries a little bit. They've taken a few liberties here and there for that wow factor. And so it kind of lends itself to almost this otherworldly experience sometimes. And to have the designer standing in the space and having the conversation with the homeowner that comes in, and I'm going to air quote it again, average homeowner who may not be able to afford a space like what they're walking in with 14 bedrooms and 32 bathrooms or whatever, it could still be a very viable client. And I know when I went to the holiday show house last year, of course, I came to see you. And I mentioned that I went into every room, of course. And there was another designer that was there in a bedroom, and she was so lovely. Of all the designers outside of you, she took the time to talk to me. And there were a couple, and she had a room that was full of expensive stuff. I mean, super expensive stuff, right? Then I went to another room that I thought was just crazy awesome. But it was just a random person standing there holding a notebook and asking me if I had questions. I really would have loved the designer to be in that space. Honestly, for me to give them feedback and just to kind of ooh and ah over it. It was just so beautiful. And that makes a big difference.
Oh, a lot of it is about you're designing for an audience. And the ultimate goal would be to get a client or two out of a show house. Going into it thinking that, you're setting yourself up for failure. But you want to engage with the people that are coming to see your space, and you're trying to put your best foot forward. So that's why I love to talk to the people and be friendly. And there's really no need to have an attitude that I find a lot of times higher end designers often have.
Right. And that's the way it even felt for me going in there. In some cases, I remember years ago going in one and thinking, even if I had the money, I wouldn't spend it with you because you weren't kind to me when I came in. And I've seen it shift a lot. I really have. I would say I've seen a bigger shift in the show homes these days with the talent in the space being much more approachable, and just realizing that there's this broad spectrum of buyer, if you will, that's coming through those spaces, those doors.
Absolutely. And as designers, we're creating an experience, not just only in the aesthetics and your room design and your lighting, but how people walk away from your space. They may not have liked the color palette or the design of your space, but if they come away from the space with a feeling of, oh, wow, she was very lovely, I enjoyed talking to her and meeting with her, that's just another level of the experience that you want people to walk away from having.
So agreed. So agreed. Even if they go, that's not really my style, but she was awesome. Mm-hmm. Then they're going to think about that. So with that, Lauren, what kind of collateral do you usually put in your space for them as a takeaway? Anything like a business card or a...
I do. I have a business card that has all of my information. And then I also make up a little postcard flyer that has the, photograph of the space. And on the back, again, it typically has my picture with a little bit about myself and my contact information again. Okay. So that way, people say, oh, Lauren, I loved meeting with her. I loved talking with her. Which space did she do? Oh, yeah, she did the laundry room. That's right. I remember that space now. I loved this element in the space. So the more you can remind people of your space and of who you were and your information, that's just one more piece of the audience that you're connecting with down the road. You don't know if they're building a home, if they need a designer for something. So I just always like to be prepared for those sorts of, possibilities.
And let's be honest, those spaces that you go into, they are so visually overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Because it's rare that you're going to walk in and design every single room at one time. You know what I mean? We're going to do it in phases. We're going to do it even in just weeks. But you're taking in, the homes here are huge, and you're taking in so many elements in every room. Then you've got the sights and the sounds and the frenetic activity. It can be a very overwhelming experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For just the person walking in the door. So anything that you can do to calm them, to assure them, to connect with them, to get to know, like, trust, and then give them a takeaway is going to benefit you in the long run.
Absolutely.
Okay, you ready?
Okay.
Let's move to the drainers.
Oh gosh,
I know. And I'm gonna be honest. I've had quite a few designers that when we're sitting down going through their P&L, it's one of those things. There are years that they did not get paid. They made no money because it all went into show houses or under the term of advertising and marketing. And so there's got to be a fine balance here because, at some point when you're bringing no money home to make a mortgage payment so that you can put beautiful things in a show house, that might make you want to take a step back and just be very careful. So tell us some of the ways, if we don't plan appropriately, that a show house can kill your profitability.
Well, they're expensive. Even if, fortunately, I've had several showrooms and vendors that have been lovely and so kind to let me borrow furnishings for this upcoming show house. That has really been a huge cost savings because they want to get their names out there as well. And if it's vendors that you use and you spend a lot of money with the company, then, they don't have a problem letting you borrow things. People want to collaborate with designers and get their products shown in a way that's not just your typical, print ad and things. Even though I do have that, there are certain costs and elements in the room that you're not going to recoup your money on. So you have to think about what your budget is first and foremost when you go in to do these show homes.
Oh, did you just say you create a budget before you go into the show home?
I did.
I just made my heart beat a little.
That makes you so excited.
Yes,
I know.
It does.
It
can quickly run crazy, right?
It does. It can get away from you very quickly. So I set a budget and, here are not only just a financial budget, but here are some items that I would be okay having to come out of pocket with because I know I will. And the chances of, this being able to sell to a client is probably slim and none. So I know that's a cost that I'm not going to be able to recoup, and you have to be okay with that. It's just that there are a lot. So yes, if you do not manage and plan and budget, it can kill your whole year. And you're playing the next year, playing catch up month after month, trying to recoup your costs from the show house that you had done while also trying to pay yourself.
Right. And, sometimes I think when we're not careful, we can look at designers who are in show homes and think that must mean they've made it. And from a design perspective, maybe so, but that doesn't mean that they're profitable in their business.
Exactly.
They're not. There's not an equal mark between those two. But for a young designer just starting out, they think, well, these people must be made of money if they're able to do a show house. And I have seen from experience and from working with some designers that, they're doing it at the expense of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk for a minute too, Lauren, about, let me say this first. I had one designer that I really thought she did the same thing you did. She created a budget and she thought about what she was willing to not be able to recoup. And she said one of the things she does is she always looks in her home and thinks, what might I do next in my home?
Yeah, absolutely.
What room could I redo? And then purchases the things that she would use in her next space if they will fit the design in that space, knowing that, she's going to be paying them back anyway. So then she actually gets to use them. Mm-hmm. So that's just another way to think about long term. Or, do I have a client that would buy this, that I could sell it to them at a discounted rate? I think you've done that. So then I can put it in the space as long as it's not damaged and we're careful with it. We can stick it in a room that nobody touches, and then we can turn it, because they're pretty careful about what you do in those spaces.
So. Yeah.
And then you can pick it up and they got it at a discounted rate, but they got exactly what they wanted. So there are multiple ways to work that out. Mm-hmm. But what about time? Because you and I, we've talked, time is money, but that shows up on the podcast over and over and over. It's a currency that is spent in our calendar. Talk about the time investment in some of these, not only to prepare and get ready, but while you're there, because that impacts your client schedule.
It does. And you have to, again, plan and budget for it. It's probably a good 20 hours a week during the run of the show that you are responding to emails if somebody liked, an item in your room, answering the phone, answering questions, taking time away from your paying clients to go and stand in the space and talk to the clients, or to the people that are
potential
clients, fluffing your space, making sure that, there's not glitter or what have you all over the rug in your room, and that your flowers are still fresh, and that all the accessories haven't been moved around and it's, they're in their place. So it's a huge time commitment, but if you're willing to plan for it and be involved, I certainly think that it outweighs anything negative. But you just have to plan for it. But yes, it is a very large time commitment. Being the lead designer for the 2018 Home for the Holidays house, I'm the one that goes into the home while it's under construction and picks all of the selections, the faucets for the bathrooms, the tiles, the flooring, the paint colors, so that the house is ready for when all the different designers come in to design their room. And it is been a large time commitment that I've been working on since March.
And you work with the architect, with the builder, and with the homeowner in that particular position. And yes, all of those selections are done, because in most cases, and I want to say this, when a designer goes in, not everyone is the same, but I would say by and large, when they go into a space, if they change the paint colors, if they change things that are the basic blueprint of the home, they have to pay to put it back. Absolutely. And so it's not just paying to decorate it, it's literally paying to undecorate it. Mm-hmm. Right? And so part of what you choose are all those base selections that the homeowner is going to be satisfied with when we're kind of undoing all of the design.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So yes, that is a cost that is not only a financial cost, but a time commitment that people don't think about as well, is when you're returning your space back to neutral and just getting things out of the space. So it is, and it is a large time commitment, but it can be fun, and it can be. You have to make it worth your while. You have to be involved. You have to have the plan of, what do I want to get out of this show house? Is it visibility for your company? Is it new photographs for your website? Is it having the notoriety of being associated with a magazine and doing the show home? So there are a lot of other factors that can be very positive from your time commitment to the show house, as long as you plan for them and use them to your advantage.
So you are lead designer on this show house, but you're also doing a space. Tell us a little bit about the space that you're working on.
I am doing the second floor study, which is when you walk up the steps, my room is the first room that you see. And I'm really excited. I typically design with more of a neutral color palette. So this being a show home, and kind of going through and looking at my website and my marketing collateral, what's missing? What do I want to do? I was able to plan, okay, I need a room that has some more color or something that's richer in tone. So that's how I decided what design direction to do my show house in, or my room in the show house. So I'm real excited about it. It's something different. And with it being a show house, you are able to kind of push the envelope and have the advantage and opportunity to do design features and colors that you normally couldn't do for a client. And it shows people, your range, that you're able to go from, a room that's all white to a room that's black, and kind of cover everything in between. So I'm really excited, and I hope everybody will come out and tour the home.
Well, I will. And I think it's so cool that you went and looked at your website, looked at your portfolio, and asked yourself what's missing. Because I've heard many designers say that when a potential client calls them, they'll say, I really like to work with you, but nothing on your website looks like my home or looks like what I want. And sometimes it's because the designer is very clear with their aesthetic. That's the only thing they want to do. Sometimes it's because they've done the work. They just don't have pictures, or they're willing to do it. They just don't have, the photography behind it. And so thinking in advance, again, making it profitable for you for more than the moment of the space or the time that you're standing there, but what will this space do to impact my longer term portfolio? And now I'm going to design with the end in mind. I'm going to plan with the end in mind, and which is what we do on the financial side. Plan with the end in mind. Where do we want to end up? Now let's back up. Where are we? Let's get there. And so I just love the forethought that you put into that. So Lauren, what would you say is one of the next big profit goals in your business?
I would say I'd like to be published in a nationally recognized magazine.
Okay.
It just gives much more visibility as a designer. And that visibility, again, gives you credit and design worthiness. I don't even know if that's the right word, to be able to truly charge what you're worth. Look, I've been in, people always say, I want to be in a magazine. I want to be in a magazine. And I went to a talk, and she was talking about one of her clients. She said, why do you want to be in a magazine? She said, I don't know. And thought about it. And it's because being published in those publications, whether it's a local publication in your area or a national publication, allows you to charge more and truly charge what you're worth, because magazines are seeing your work and thinking that they're, editorial worthy to publish your works in magazines. So that's kind of one of my next big goals, and, really promoting the visibility that comes out of doing the 2018 Home for the Holidays house, really being able to promote it on all of my, channels, to not only promote the house, but to promote myself and my designs.
To make it work for you in the longer run, again, not just in that week and a half, 2 weeks that the show house is open, or 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is something that if you could, we've covered a lot of ground, especially with starting off and then show houses. It feels like we covered about 20 years right there.
That's right.
But for new designers that are looking to break into their very first show house, talk to me about how they would go about submitting or pitching, what advice can we give them to get themselves ready to pitch it? All right, so let's talk about for a minute. Let's say on this side, they know what they want their outcome to be like, so they know why they want to be in a show house. Let's say that they've given themselves a budget that they think they can spend up to X thousands of dollars. Notice I didn't say hundreds, thousands of dollars to be in that show house. So they have an outcome that they've desired. They have a budget that they have created, knowing what they know. Let's say they go in thinking, I want one of the small spaces like you recommended for their first time through. How do they get themselves prepared, and how do they go in and see what show houses are available and pitch? Because, they're not going to just sit and wait on somebody to ring the doorbell and find them. They're going to have to put themselves out there. How do we help them do that?
Get involved. Network with small networking groups that are in your design field. Put yourself out there. Enter all and any competition that a blogger, website, magazine is offering. You would be surprised at how many people don't enter those contests because they're afraid that somebody else has already entered and it's going to be that much better. Get involved. Send an email, a short pitch to an editor of a magazine that says, introduce yourself. Hi, my name is, whatever with my company, and here's an example of my work. I would really love to be involved in your upcoming show house, whether, it's the Home for the Holidays house or, another show home that a magazine's putting on. Get involved. Talk to people. Tell people, I want to do a show house. I would really like to be involved in the next show house. But do your homework. If you want to be
just saying it is huge, right? Because you never know who might hear it and relay the message to somebody. Oh, you know what? I heard Lauren say she would want to be in a show house. How about I connect you?
Yeah. And don't be afraid to ask. All they can say is no. But you've gotten your name out there and you've sent them, an email or what have you, and they've said no. But they'll remember your name. That doesn't mean it's a no for this one. But they may have a project that they're working on and looking for talent, 6 months or a year down the road. And because you were willing to put yourself out there, it could, spark, oh, remember so-and-so that sent us that orange room? Well, it wouldn't work for this, but let's get in touch with her to see if she would be interested. And go to the, let's say you want to be involved in the 2019 Home for the Holidays house. Well, make sure you're at the one this year and that you talk to people and that you get involved and you ask questions. Designers love to answer questions. They really do. And most people that are at the home can answer any of your questions that you have as well, whether it's, I don't know, but send so-and-so an email and here's their information. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
One other thing, it just struck me when you were sharing that, thank you for that, by the way, is by getting to know these people and collaborating, connecting, putting yourself out there, between show houses, they come to you when they need articles for their magazine. They come to you and look at your body of work and say, hey, I'd really like to use that picture. Could you do a little write-up or could we feature that? I know you've gotten a lot of traction by just connecting with these people, not pitching anything to them directly, just connecting with them and building, a business relationship that later they go back and call you, hey, Lauren, we're looking for, a wine cellar. Hey, Lauren, we're looking for a kitchen. Hey, Lauren, we're looking for a bathroom. What do you have? And then you show the pictures and then they're off doing it. It costs you nothing but relationship building.
Absolutely. And even if you don't have anything, be so timely in your responses because they're reaching out to so many people and that everybody is working on tight deadlines. Just if you don't have anything, a simple thank you so much for thinking of me. Unfortunately, I don't have anything, but if you would please check back with me on your next project, I would greatly appreciate it. Be respectful and courteous to the editors and the magazines. And if you have something, by all means, if you say, yes, I do, have it to them within the next 24 hours. And if they say, oh, I need, follow-up text or a little description, make sure you then get it to them in a timely manner because that could really make or break your project and your photograph being published in a magazine or a website because you didn't meet their deadline.
Very good advice. Very good advice. So Lauren, I'm going to put the Home for the Holidays house link in the show notes. I'm going to put your information in the show notes, but tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on my website at www.davenportdesigns, with an S on the end of designs, ltd.com.
Excellent. And so I'll put all of your connections out there where they can see you. And then everybody, if you are in the Atlanta area and you go to the Holiday Show House, go up the stairs to the second floor, and the first room you walk in will be Lauren's.
And come see me.
Come see her. I'm sure she'll probably be there and she'll be able to spend some time with you. Thank you so much, Lauren, for sharing your profitability secrets, if you will, to show homes, what's worked, what doesn't work, pitfalls, things to watch out for. I just really appreciate you sharing that knowledge with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I had a great time talking to you about all of this. And I feel like we covered a whole lot of information in a short time frame.
That's right. That's right. Everybody comes on and they think, I don't know that we have that much to talk about. And I usually say every time, don't worry, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I haven't been wrong yet. There's been plenty to talk about. So I appreciate you being part of the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Please, if you would, leave a review on iTunes. I know you want to do that, but go ahead and do it for us. It really helps us out. And then you can join my group to continue the discussion at profitisachoice.club. And remember, profit doesn't happen by accident.